about 2 months ago, Marvel and DC teamed up for their first crossover in decades, and that was Marvel's side of it. So Marvel was going to publish an issue, and DC was going to publish an issue. And for Marvel's, well, for both of them, the big story is Batman and Deadpool, and then there's backup stories, there's secondary stories with smaller crossovers. Now, for Marvel's side, Zeb Wells was the one who helmed the main story, the Batman Deadpool story. Not exactly who I would pick. It was okay. It was fine. It was not the big hit you needed it to be for a big crossover. It's not what you wanted. I don't really understand why they rewarded Zeb Wells with it. And Greg Capullo was on art, so it looked good, but overall that issue was lukewarm at best. I wasn't a big fan of that crossover. The Green Arrow Daredevil crossover that was a part of it was by far the best part from Kevin Smith. I really enjoyed that a lot. That was a lot of fun, but for the most part it was not worth the price tag, that book. But this week, DC did their part of it. That just came out. And again, Batman Deadpool's the main story, but there's several other secondary crossovers. But my big problem with both of these, aside from some of the talent they chose, which was weird, but DC's has a lot of really good artists, which I was happy to see on these. But the writers, I'm kind of confused on. But aside from that, one of the things that is kind of annoying about this is the characters they chose to cross over. I don't know why Marvel and DC chose these characters. Batman Deadpool, I don't think makes a very interesting matchup, but I get it because Batman is the most popular character at DC, and then for Marvel, they probably were just like, hey, who was the last character of ours to make $1 billion in a movie? Oh, it was Deadpool. We'll throw Deadpool in there. So that's why they did it, I'm assuming. And they were saving Spider-Man for the Spider-Man-Superman crossover, which is happening next year in 2026. But most of these are very uninspired and not interesting choices. Now, Constantine and Doctor Strange, great choice. That's a crossover that I was very excited to see, and I think a lot of people are very excited to see. But these others, like Nightwing and X-23, feels like the only reason they chose those is because Tom Taylor was going to be writing a crossover, and he has written both characters before. And I think that's literally it. They were just like, what characters has Tom Taylor written for Marvel and DC? Oh, he wrote Nightwing and he wrote X-23, so we'll have them team up. Okay. And then we got Harley Quinn and Hulk. I have no idea why those two are teaming up. Static and Miss Marvel. That's just, I'm happy that Static Shock is getting I'm happy that he's getting a little love. But Miss Marvel is just the most industry plant hero. Like, Marvel has pushed her to the forefront for years and has tried so hard to get her to stick, but no one really cares. And man, why not Miles Morales? I feel like Static Shock and Miles Morales could have had a lot of fun. And Miles is a character that people actually like and has a fan base. I feel like that could have been better. But also, we got Thor and Shazam which is a very interesting crossover, but that's a web exclusive. And then we got Flash and Fantastic Four, which is also interesting, but it's another web exclusive. I'm very confused why those two were web exclusives. Those were not actually published physically in comic shops. Those are web exclusives that you have to go to read. And also, by the way they're done, the format is different compared to like a normal comic book. So the pages are different, which was kind of annoying when reading this. It's like, man, Thor and Shazam, I think, is a really cool idea for a team up and a much better choice than a lot of what we got. But they didn't put that in the actual comic that you have to pay a bunch of money for. With all that being said, let's actually get into these crossovers and what I think of them and if it's worth your money to check this out. Spoilers, of course, I will be getting to spoilers for the book, so there's your warning if you haven't read it. First off, we're going with Batman Deadpool from Grant Morrison and Dan Mora. Of course, Dan Mora's on art. He's been killing it lately on everything, and he's incredible on this as well. This story is much better than what Zeb Wells did. It feels like Grant Morrison actually had a goal and had a story in mind. It's interesting, and there's a lot of callbacks, and there's a lot of references, and there's a lot of obscure characters, and of course, that's very Grant Morrison. But also very Grant Morrison is it's way more complicated than it needs to be. There are some things there where it's like, of course, that's what Grant Morrison loves to do. But I very much enjoyed it. You got Deadpool and Batman crossover. I thought it might be connected to the last crossover because at the end of the Zeb Wells one, Deadpool goes loose in Gotham, but it's not really connected to that at all. You got Eternity and Kismet hooking up, which is what causes the crossover in the first place, which is much different than what caused the crossover in the Marvel version. And then you've also got Batman going after the cosmic typewriter or whatever it was called, and he's trying to find it, and Cassandra Nova's trying to get it, which this very much feels like this should have come out last year with Cassandra Nova being involved because of Deadpool and Wolverine movie. You've got Grant Morrison making an appearance in it, which is great. I love that Grant Morrison gets to write a Deadpool or a Marvel DC crossover, and of course he throws himself into it, and I really enjoyed that. You've got Deadpool just constantly yapping. I liked, which is very Deadpool, but I liked Grant Morrison and how he wrote Deadpool. I thought he did pretty good. I love the fact that Batman is constantly calling him Wade Wilson. At first, is like, "Are you a Deathstroke? Are you a variant of Slade Wilson?" He's like, "No, I'm Wade Wilson. I'm not Deathstroke." And then Batman's like, "Okay, good. Then you're just like a nobody. Because if you're Deathstroke, I'd be worried for a second. It might be someone competent." I love it. Dark Claw shows up, which is great. It's I really liked it. I liked it a lot more than Zeb Wells. Is it the greatest comic I've ever read? No, but Grant Morrison very much had an idea here, and it's fleshed out, and I liked it. There's a much more of a point to it compared to like the Zeb Wells stories we got, where it's just kind of like meandering and not all that interesting. This was actually interesting. Again, it's much more complicated than it needs to be, but I liked it. I had a good time with it. Next up, we got Constantine and Doctor Strange, which is from James Tynion IV, Joshua Williamson, Scott Snyder, and Hayden Sherman, who Hayden Sherman has been amazing on Absolute Wonder Woman and Batman Dark Patterns, which just ended. I personally think his work on Batman Dark Patterns has been fantastic, maybe the best of the year as far as art goes. Oh my goodness, his layouts incredible. I really love his work, and his work on Absolute Wonder Woman was great as well. I just think his style fit that noir, that sort of old school Batman world, which Dark Patterns took place in more than Absolute Wonder Woman. But his work's incredible regardless, and he's on this and he does a great job here. But again, we got 3 writers on here, and it's good. I really liked this one. I thought that Constantine and Doctor Strange again was probably the most interesting of these crossovers. Of all the characters that were crossing over, this was the one, as far as just pure character matchup, that I was most interested in. You have Constantine showing up at the Sanctum Sanctorum and being like, "Hey, Doctor Strange, our universes are colliding. Things are happening that aren't supposed to happen. Some bad things could happen." And then you see what's going on. You see Swamp Thing and Ghost Rider going at it. You see other characters going at it. They're talking, and Constantine tries to convince him that he's like, "Hey, I'm just trying to, we should team up and try to do this." And then Doctor Strange's like, "This whole time you've been like secretly casting sleep spells at me so you can steal something from me. You're not here to team up." And then he wraps him up, and then Constantine headbutts him, fights a little dirty, gets the Eye Agamotto, and is like, "This is what I need." And then we get a beautiful splash page from Hayden Sherman, just perfect. It looks so nice, and you see all this different stuff going on, and then you see Doctor Strange and Constantine have this conversation, talk about how they need to team up, and they're finally like in sync, and this is what needs to be done to fix everything. And it's really good. I like this a lot. Of course, you got 3 very talented writers on here, and you got a great artist, so of course this one was great, and it's shorter than the Deadpool Batman one because Deadpool Batman is the main one. I wish this one would have been a little longer, but it's really nice. I like this a lot. So far, I know I complained at the beginning of this because I think when you have the opportunity for a Marvel and DC crossover, you really should nail like everything. But these first 2 stories were pretty good, especially this Constantine Doctor Strange one. I really enjoyed it. Now the next one is where things start dipping a little bit, which is Tom Taylor and Bruno Redondo on Nightwing and Laura Kinney X-23. Now Bruno Redondo is I love Bruno Redondo. I was not a fan of Tom Taylor's Nightwing run. And also, by the way, I may sometimes call him Tom King because they're both bald guys that I'm not a big fan of their writing named Tom, and I sometimes interchange their last name. So sorry. I know I did that in like last video. I did that. Someone corrected me. It was like, "Actually, it was Tom blah blah blah, not Tom blah blah blah." I was like, "My bad." I do that all the time. But anyways, I wasn't a big fan of Tom Taylor's Nightwing because I felt like he made Dick very ineffective, and there was this, if you didn't read it, there was this guy that was going around killing homeless people and ripping their hearts out of Bloodhaven for like months, or actually like years, I think. Like he killed hundreds of people, and Nightwing was like stopping graffiti and like donating to charities instead of stopping the guy ripping the hearts out of his citizens. And things like that, I wasn't the biggest fan of. And also, every single issue, he would just have someone be like, "Dick Grayson is the greatest person ever of all time. He's such a good guy." And that bleeds into this, because in this, all Nightwing and Laura are doing is sucking each other off in their heads. Like, each of their inner monologues is like, "Wow, Laura's so strong and fast and brave and the best." And then in her mind, she's like, "Wow, Nightwing's the bravest, bestest guy I've ever seen ever in my entire life, and that's it. And again, the art is great. Bruno Redondo, love Bruno Redondo. The art looks immaculate, but the writing, man, it's not great. The story is you got Laura's sister. They're going to save her from Killer Croc. Also, there's a really dumb part where Laura beats up Killer Croc and then Croc's like surrenders, like, please don't. And Nightwing's like, wow, I've never seen Croc that scared ever of anyone. Just showing, yeah, because Laura's so badass. And it's just like, I don't. I've never been the biggest fan of Laura. I liked her origin, but after that, I felt like she kind of overstayed her welcome. I didn't really care for her as a character, but I really think her taking over the mantle of Wolverine is incredibly dumb, and Wolverine isn't a mantle that needs to be taken over with. Especially when like half the Wolverine comics are always like Logan being like, "Man, being Wolverine's a real curse, and this kind of sucks, and this is my burden and everything." But then modern day Marvel's like, Wolverine's just a mantle that someone needs to take on. It's like, what are we doing? It doesn't make any sense. And not every hero is a mantle that someone else has to take on. We need to stop that. Not every hero is that. That's doesn't only a select few. Like that doesn't need to be every single hero. But anyways, yeah, it's a pretty story because the art's good from Bruno Redondo, but the writing is not very good. It's not very interesting. I didn't care for it. This one was a thumbs down for me. Then we got Harley Quinn and Incredible Hulk from Mariko Tamaki and Amanda Conner. I like Amanda Conner's art. She has a very specific style, but I like it. It works for like silly stories, and she does a good job in this. But Mariko Tamaki, I've never found to be a great writer. But this one's very short, and it's just kind of a dumb little story. Harley Quinn and Hulk fight like irradiated hot dogs, like hot dogs that get put in chemical waste and like a vat of chemicals, and then they fight them, and that's it. It's very short. So it's not terrible, but it's just like, why is this taking up page space? Why is this here? We could have had something actually interesting. What fans were clamoring for Harley and Hulk to team up, to see them cross over? No one. And then Static and Miss Marvel, which again, Static Shock, I'm happy to see him get some shine, but Miss Marvel, again, the most industry plant hero of all time. They just keep trying to push over. Remember that entire episode of Daredevil that they did recently with the latest season of Daredevil, where like every 10 seconds someone's going Miss Marvel's dad, I should say, is going Miss Marvel, Miss Marvel, Miss Marvel, Miss Marvel, the greatest Miss Marvel, Miss Marvel, and it's like, am I watching Daredevil still? Why are we talking about Miss Marvel constantly? Anyways, this isn't very interesting. It's from G. Will Wilson and Denise Cohen, which this is the only one where I'll say I don't like the art. I think it's not my cup of tea. I think there's some very ugly panels in here. It doesn't look too good. It's not the worst thing I've ever seen, but I'm not a fan of the art here. And the writing's not very good either. When Static and Miss Marvel first team up, Static's like, I'll add you to the group chat. And then Miss Marvel's like, no, I'll add you to the group chat. And then they get an argument about that. It's like, is G. Will Wilson like 85 years old? Is this what she thinks young people do? Like, it's not very good. This one sucks. So do I think the book is worth your money? Not necessarily, but there are two good stories in it. So it depends how much you really want to read about Batman, Deadpool, and Constantine and Doctor Strange. The other stories are not very good, not worth your time, but those two stories are good, and I enjoyed them. But the others not very good. Now we'll move on to the digital exclusive ones, which first one I'll go over is Flash and Fantastic Four from Jeremy Adams and Adrian Gutierrez. A lot of fun. Jeremy Adams is one of the best in the biz currently, and this is Barry Allen also. So it's cool seeing him write Barry Allen after he had a whole run on Wally, and he got to write Jay Garrick, that Jay Garrick miniseries. It's cool to see him write some Barry here, and it's a lot of fun. You have Gorilla Grodd showing up, going after the Fantastic Four because he wants this thing that Reed has that'll help amplify your mind. So he attacks them. They end up going through time because it's a Flash story. So of course they do. They encounter different Flashes, they encounter different Flashes and different like Wally shows up and you see Jay Garrick and so on, and you see different villains, and it's a lot of fun. Heat Wave tries to light the Human Torch on fire. There's a lot of fun to be had, and then they end up defeating Gorilla Grodd at the end. It's very short because it's just a little webcomic, but It was good. It was fun. I wish this would have been a part of the actual one. I don't know why you stuck Jeremy Adams, one of the best writers in comics right now, with an actual interesting crossover of Flash and the Fantastic Four. You stuck this on web exclusive. I think that's really dumb. Then the other one is Thor and Shazam, which is again another very interesting crossover. And it's Thor back when he was Donald Blake, when he had the Donald Blake alias, and he would hit his cane on the ground and transform into Thor. And it's Al Ewing and Jethro Morales on this one. And I'm generally not the biggest fan of Al Ewing. I just find him mid. I'm not like, oh, he's the worst writer ever or anything. I'm just not the biggest fan of him. I know a lot of people really like him, but I've only read a little bit of him. For what I have read, I just found a mid so far, but this was fun. You've got Mr. Mind who shows up, and now he's got an actual body. He's not just a little worm, and there's a lot going on with the transformations of Shazam and Thor and Mr. Mind, and there's a lot of back and forth between Shazam transforming and then Thor transforming because of stuff that goes on in the comic. It's very short, so I don't want to really spoil exactly what happens in it, but it's a lot of fun, and I enjoyed it. It was good. It's not the best thing you'll ever read, but it was fun. And this is another one that if this would have replaced one of those lame stories in the other comic, in the actual comic that was published, then I think this would have made that more worth it. But instead it was stuck to a web exclusive, which was unfortunate. But yeah, that's basically it for this crossover. We're going to be getting more next year. We're getting Superman and Spider-Man. I'm excited for that. I was hoping DC would hit a little heavier than Marvel's did. I was hoping they would be much better because DC, in my opinion, has the better talent right now in the comics. But they got two. They got two good stories as far as the main issue goes. But the two web ones were good as well. But those are more side things. But yeah, it's still not a home run. They didn't hit a home run on either of these. Neither Marvel nor DC hit a home run on their crossover, which was disappointing. But hopefully the Superman Spider-Man's better. But also, there's still some good here. There's still some good stories to read here. It's just nothing like incredible where it's like, man, you really have to check this out. But yeah, if you're interested in the Constantine Doctor Strange story, definitely check it out. It's really good. And if you're interested in some Grant Morrison wackiness with Batman and Deadpool, it's definitely worth it. That's pretty good. So yeah, that's all I had to say. I want to hear from you guys in the comments below. If you read this crossover, what did you think? Really want to hear your thoughts. And thank you so much for watching. We'll see y'all later.
Hey, skinny boy, saucy boy, I be running to the bank. Yeah, I hit the gas in the whip full tank. Riding past the ocean while I'm listening to Frank.